The new summer slasher is going to set the box office on fire. Here's your look at the NECA toys, Ghostface Inferno. Ghostface is back and coming in hot. This all-new Ultimate 7-inch scale action figure features updated sculpt and articulation beneath a new openly soft goods cloak with 3 interchangeable hood options. In addition to NECA's updated faceplate technology, Ghostface comes with 4 interchangeable masks: chrome, white, devil, and aged. Other accessories include chrome knife, bloodied chrome knife, pitchfork, flamethrower with flame attachment, 2 machetes, and interchangeable hands, including the iconic knife wipe hand for the first time in retail. Sporting many faces of fear, just before we get a closer look at the brand new Ghostface Inferno, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA that provided this sample we could have a look at. The Ghostface has been around for a bit, now just getting around to reviewing him. The figure looks fantastic, and it's going to come with some pretty cool accessories. Just before that, though, the tape measure is going to tell us that this version of Ghostface stands at 7 inches in height, or Inferno is going to be 18 centimeters tall. I'm not going to bring them all in just because we've looked at quite a lot of Ghostface over quite a lot of years, but I will bring in the most recent releases from NECA. First, here's what the figure looks like with the Ultimate Ghostface released in 2020, which it really wasn't the definitive Ghostface. There were a few little problems, like he didn't have a long enough cloak, for example, and his hood was way too tight around his mask. We got a vast improvement, though, that was released, unfortunately, as a convention exclusive. Here's what the figure looks like with the 2023 Ghostface Takes Manhattan. What I already really like about this release of Ghostface is the mix and match possibilities that he possesses. Sure, yes, you could go with the OG look of this chalk white mask, but perhaps entertain the idea as well that he has all these extra masks that can be swapped out. And because they're also using the same sized holes and placed in the same places, you can also use as well the mask that came included with the Takes Manhattan Ghostface. That's saying a whole lot of things. Let's back it up just a little bit and run through the accessories that come included with the figure. First, if I can actually hold on to them, he comes with 2 versions of his modified Buck 120. Both in this case are actually using a chrome finish, which is a nice treat to see. But one is clean, one looks like it's already been used for bludgeoning somebody, as there's blood stained all on the bottom of the blade. The handles themselves, looking at them, seem to be identical. To compare it, though, with the Buck 120 that we got with the Takes Manhattan Ghostface, I think it would be safe to say that they're probably using the exact same mold, but doing this now in chrome gives just a jazzed up, better presentation of this. I like the idea of them using chrome. You can't really use it with everybody. Giving, say, for example, Jason Voorhees a chrome machete probably makes no sense whatsoever, but it works really well with Ghostface. The figure has, of course, already hands to hold the weapons, but he does also have, for the first time ever, the hand wiping blood. If that was the one thing that everybody was asking for, I know I was certainly asking for it, the figure technically already has it on the ends of his forearms. So if, for example, you want to take the figure's hands, we'll put the knife into his one hand. This probably may not be the best knife to be using. And then he has, as you can see there, this hand has more of relaxed fingers, so it looks like he's actually pulling the blood away from the blade. Answering, of course, the calls of all the collectors out there that have been asking this whole time, could we get ourselves a blood-wiping hand? NECA does deliver. Of course, the accessories don't just end there. The figure also comes included, let's just get him to stand here for a second, with, first of all, if you don't think that knives are deadly enough, the figure also comes included with these nasty-looking machetes. Slightly smaller, maybe not up in Jason's kind of neck of the woods when it comes to the weapons he would wield, but pretty dangerous-looking machetes, and they seem to be identical to one another. I like the dark gunmetal gray they've approached for the blades. You can see some nice detailing done for the handles themselves as well, and these can also be held in his hands. The figure also comes included with his voice changing box, which is very, very tiny. It seems, from what I'm guessing here, to be the exact same mold. If I can grab this one. Oh, don't want to drop these, whatever I do. There we go. Holding the 2 side by side nervously, because I don't want to drop either one of them. This is the one that we got from the Inferno. This is the one that we got from Takes Manhattan. They seem to be identical. Quickly putting them onto the tape. I don't want to lose them. The figure also comes included with some hands. Obviously, for all the things that we're just going to be talking about, the figure does need the hands to hold these things. So he does have some gripping hands. Good for holding machetes. Good for holding flamethrowers. What? Flamethrowers. The figure also comes included with a hand that has specifically a trigger finger, and then a regular gripping hand with a slightly bigger grip. He also has a pitchfork. Looking at this, I assumed right away that they were just carrying over the mold that we got from the Jason Voorhees from part 2. I wanted to bring in Jason Voorhees, quite now pathetic looking pitchfork when you compare it with the one that we get here from the new Scream Ghostface. Obviously, there's a big size difference really between the two. I mean, obviously, this one also has a much shinier looking finish as well. The only thing that we don't get in this release is the scythe. The scythe, though, we have already gotten with another Ghostface from before, and I don't think a lot of people are probably going to be displaying their figures with scythes. Are you going to be doing that? I don't. I have no plans. Oh, you have plans? Okay, this guy over here has plans. While he has plans, let's move on to the next plan of actually showing you guys what the flamethrower looks like. This thing looks just dangerous. It's molded here, I'm guessing, in green plastic. Some nice little additional accents of added in silver. You got the wire there on the top there, also done in black. Just a neat looking accessory. Not something you would really tend to think of with Ghostface, but the fact that they throw this also in there as well. He has also some rather interesting things when we peek behind the curtains. We're going to peek behind the curtains a little bit later. Figure also comes included with a blast firing effect. So obviously if you want it to look like he's actually blowing fire out of this thing, there's a hole on the end of it. By the way, hello, this is translucent. Kind of looks like a moose head. Little horns on the top. Stop that. It starts generally quite kind of a yellowish clear in the end, and it kind of goes to more of a darker orangish yellow. But there's a hole on the end anyways, and that just plugs onto the point on the end, and we'll just plug that in place. It's honestly not the easiest thing, just because if you look at this, there's these wires, which basically would be, I'm guessing, this probably would be, I guess, blowing the fire out, and then this would be, I don't know, but these probably would be lighting the fire on either side, and then the thing in the middle would be the thing that's blasting out the gasoline. So you just plug that in place, kind of get everything out of the way, move it out of the way. You can see that's what it looks like with the flamethrower with the flame effect on the end. Pretty different, to say the least. Also, speaking of things that are pretty different, I already did say the fact that this figure does have, like, just out of stock, out of packaging, he comes with his chalk white mask. He has, though, the option of swapping things out quite considerably. If we look at the face the way it is right now, I'm just going to peel back the hood. This is his regular look, and it really isn't that much different than the one that we got if I just peeled away the mask from the Takes Manhattan release. In fact, looking at it, the only thing I would say that right away I noticed the difference between the two is that this one definitely has a little more of a hook on the bottom of his mouth. They rounded it up, though, a little bit more, so it's a little more of a gradual curve. It isn't as extreme, perhaps, as the one that we got here from the Takes Manhattan. This actually looks like more like a bird feeder. So it's a little bit of a different face. It's not just the case that they've used the exact same mask for both releases. This figure, by the way, again, does have this head sculpt, which, if you look at the back of it, it doesn't have, well, it's just basically like a rounded head, but he does also have the ones that have the tassels. If you like your Ghostface with little tassels on the sides, these little curtain drapes on the sides, he also has this as well. And he actually has two variations of this. So he has this one and he has this one. And you're looking at this and you're thinking, I don't see the difference between the two. Look at the way they've done the top. See how this one's a little bit more rounded? This one actually has the drapes draped down in the front. It's the only thing that's really different between the two. It looks that the back of it is almost identical. Maybe this one is just a little bit thicker as well than this one here, but they plug in the exact same way. Any one of the various masks that we're about to have a look at do also have the same means of plugging into any one of these. So you basically have 3 back heads, and then you have 4 masks to share around. If, say, for example, you wanted to use this mask the way it is right now. So he's got this one. Then he has this really cool chrome mask, which basically takes the same idea, and I don't think they've molded it differently, and they've just done it in like a vac chrome finished plastic. It's very neat. Kind of reminds me in a way of Jason Takes Manhattan, not Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, the actual poster where we got the mask there on the front. Change this out, by the way, is if you are familiar with the Takes Manhattan, it's basically working the exact same way. You just detach it, so there's pegs on both sides, and then there's a hole on, well, there's holes on both sides. So basically, you can take any one of those masks, and you take any one of those heads, and you get the idea. You can mix and match them. Now, let's just say you like the little tassels on the side. Okay, that's easy enough to fix. So let's just take the head off right now. We're going to literally remove it from the ball joint, and we'll take one of these. So if you wanted to, say, for example, take this one, just plugs on top. Or again, if you wanted to, you can go with this one too. It doesn't necessarily matter. So then you can just take yourself the chalk white mask, and you sort of have to tuck it underneath. Some of these work a little bit better than others, but I mean, again, you just basically feed this up the top. It might even be even easier just to leave the figure decapitated for right now. Just feed the face up, and then you will want to just plug it in place. If anything, I would say like this mask well, this hood is maybe the hardest to get access to. This one's a little bit easier just because there's not plastic in the way. But you just line everything up, and then you just plug those in, and then you got this mask instead. Or if I can get this all the way in here, you get this mask instead. Now you have that one. We have the chrome. We've already looked at that. There is also this one that has the more aged mask. It plugs in the exact same way. There's also as well the devil mask. The devil mask now incorporates some additional horns on the top and pretty much keeps the mold pretty much consistent, other than just doing in red instead. Now, say for example, you know what? This one's a little bit harder to deal with. We're going to deal with this one just because it's a little bit easier. We're going to plug this on top of his head like this. And again, it just snaps onto the ball joint. You want to make sure it's all the way on there. So like, for example, if you want to take the devil horn mask, you can do that. Or again, if you want to go with the age mask, that plugs in place the exact same way as well. Really smart that, by the way, I think they've started this trend really when we looked at the Takes Manhattan Leatherface, the Ghostface. Pretty much started the trend there with the idea of removing just the mask portions of that. It's a whole lot easier than, first of all, from a cost standpoint of molding everything. Instead of molding every single mask with an accompanying back piece, it's so much easier just to replace it with the mask on the front. From a costing tooling standpoint, it would just be easier. They produce only just the masks, and then you just plug them on as you feel fit. One thing too, as I already mentioned, we're going to bring in some of the masks that came included. I'm going to grab all three of these here. We've already kind of looked at the defaulted mask, but then again, when we got the Takes Manhattan, there was also a bloodied mask. It also came included the zombie mask or the aged mask, and there was also the stab mask. Any one of these masks, by the way, can work with this version, the Inferno version. So there's the Takes Manhattan mask with the back of the head for the Inferno. And again, if you want to do that as well with the stab mask, you can also do that as well. And yes, also. Oh, there is one more. There is one more too. There was also the rainbow mask. Rainbow mask. That plugs also in the back there as well. So any one of these can be mixed and matched. So essentially, you have yourself, 4 masks with this release, 4 masks with the Take Manhattan. You really have the option of having 8 interchangeable masks to work with. By the way, too, we'll take the mask that came with this one as we had it right now. I want to display also I'll show you guys the difference between the two. Obviously, the only thing that I would also say when you're comparing, so this one was the Takes Manhattan, this was the Inferno. I would say Takes Manhattan takes probably the award for the better looking aged mask. This one's a little bit more of a brownish gray. This one's a little bit more of a lighter gray. I think the details pop a little bit more. And again, you can do whatever you want. You can just mix and match these. So what do we do? We'll stick with the aged mask for right now. We're going to plug this in place. I want to make sure I've got the right mask going here. Did I grab the right one? I did grab the right one. Okay, good. So if you want to have it with the tassels on the side, the cloak hood works the same way, but you basically now just have these little extra bits that are sticking out the front. If that's the way you like to display your figure. Another way you can also display the figure too is that you can take the cloak off completely. The cloak doesn't seem to have, there's a wire, by the way, that runs on the front. There's a wire that runs on the front here as well. And then you basically so let's take the mask off. And what we'll do is just sort of slide everything off. So you basically have to take it from the bottom, work it to the top, just bring the arms up here as well, and we'll just slide everything off. You may find it's also easier to remove the gloves. I mean, you don't have to commit really to the idea. You're just going to have to work a little bit hard to get the sleeves off them completely. I'll just take it off the other side there as well. And then underneath this, which is the first time we're seeing this now with Ghostface, he's got himself a SWAT bulletproof vest. You can see there's a few little bullets that have already penetrated it. And now he's got himself bare sleeves. It's a bit of a departure, obviously, from what we're used to seeing with Ghostface. Of course, then we can go our way of taking the mask there, pop that in place. I think if I was to go the route of displaying the figure with the sleeves like this, I would probably beeline it back to the chrome mask, because I think the chrome mask works the best. And we'll just plug that in place like that. There we go. You want to make sure it's snapped all the way in. Very different, yes, but a very interesting looking take to Ghostface. SWAT vest is nicely detailed. I mean, really, there's not much in the way of paint. This, by the way, is not the softest of plastic, but you can see there's a little bit of give to it. And again, you've got the little bullets there painted. There's only 3 of them painted there on the front. Lower legs seem to be, from what I'm guessing, to be the exact same. I'm just going to bring up the legs here from Takes Manhattan. They are identical. The shoes seem to be the same as well. Although with this one, obviously, because the cloak is covering so much, they didn't have to sculpt as much, so his waist looks pretty much unfinished. The newer waist here obviously has to be finished in order to be able to show this like this. And then, of course, you can have the figure then displayed with the flamethrower, which I might just end up doing at the end of this review. Now, for the figure's articulation, now that we really get the chance to kind of take the cloak off, his head's going to be on a bulge, right? So it does rotate pretty much the exact same way as the Takes Manhattan Ghostface. Technically, it rotates all the way around. Being that now you have these little tassels on the front, they might be a little bit harder, but they're still soft plastic, so they shouldn't get in the way of things. The arms come out. Now, I noticed with my arms, not my arms, but the figure's arms, they're a little more on the tighter side. For all intents and purposes, they would be able to come out 90 degrees. I might have to just heat these up just a little bit more. The arms rotate all the way around. I'm looking at also these arms, and I'm trying to think, have they used these arms before? Or if they haven't, what plans do they have for those arms with a future figure release? You guys can probably come up with some ideas down below. Hands, oh, by the way, the elbows bend. Those rotate also back and forth. The hands also rotate all the way around, and there's a hinge there as well. The upper torso is going to be on a bulge, right? The legs split out down below here. You can take the legs and move forward. You can move them back. A swivel there at the top of the thigh. Single hinge only for the knee. But at least the way they've actually covered over the knee, it gives you a nice seamless look. Seamless look. But again, he's got the bend. He's got the lower rotation on the leg. Hinge up and down this way. An ankle rocker there as well. And of course, if I haven't already mentioned, I'll mention it now. The figure does have pegals on the bottoms of his feet. Honestly, though, I don't know if I would display Ghostface looking like this, just because, again, it's such a different take on the character, but not a take necessarily in a bad way, but just something I'm not used to seeing with the character. Still, though, I think if you had the chance, I know this guy was a little bit harder to come by, if you want to have just a seamless look to the cloak, the best thing to really get is the one that we got here from the Takes Manhattan. The unfortunate thing about that, though, is it was also a convention exclusive, and now to try to track one down, anybody knows that's in the know that tried to look for one online knows now it's going for crazy stupid money. This one at least benefits that if you didn't get the chance to get this one, but you still like the idea of the mix and match design that they've now had for the new technology of Ghostface's masks. This one's the nice one to go with. The only thing unfortunately about it, though, is in order to accommodate the idea that underneath all this is going to have that SWAT vest, it means that it means that, first of all, you're going to have an open cloak. There doesn't seem to be a way to actually keep this closed, but kind of just, even if you overlap one another, it kind of gives you at least a somewhat seamless look. So at least it's a good stand-in. And being that this one's also a more mass retail release, the Inferno is going to go for a lot less. Many online sites, or if you're lucky enough to find these in the stores, this guy is going for around $30 to $35. You know, again, give or take. I know a lot of online sites are selling him, I think, for around $37.99. It's a far cry from the one for the cost of what we're going to be having to pay if you ever want to try to track down the one from Takes Manhattan. Pretty much the same similar figure, but again, like approached differently. I'm liking this one. I just don't know if I'm going to be ever displaying him the way he's looking like right now. Wrapping up now the review for Inferno Ghostface. Not in a look I would display him in, but a look that I at least respect him in. The figure does have something different, and that's not something that we could have said a lot for other Ghostfaces, because Ghostface tend to be a character with a white mask dressed all in a black cloak. NECA took a different departure when it came to this release, still fulfilling, though, the collector's needs of wanting to have a regular OG Ghostface with the cloak on him, but giving you also as well the option, if you ever want to take all that stuff off, there's a lot of stuff going on underneath as well. The figure's got now a sported tactical kind of, I don't know, like a bulletproof vest. He's sporting now as well a flamethrower. Two things that you'd never expect anyone to ever really say when it comes to describing Ghostface, and yet it makes for a rather interesting look to the character. One thing that's also really interesting is the fact that he comes included with as many masks as he does, and it was smart really on NECA's part to give him also the same placement of holes. So if you just happen to have been lucky enough to get your hands on the Takes Manhattan Ghostface, then you can also borrow some of the masks for him and use it for this figure as well. So in actual fact, if you're lucky enough to get your hands not just on this one, but the other one as well, you now have 8 masks, 4 on each, to be able to then change the figures around to have them displayed exactly the way that you want on the shelf. Good news is this guy is available on right now in stores, and good news is the guy is available online, and the good news is he's quite plentiful, that if you didn't get the chance and you still kick yourself that you never got yourself the Takes Manhattan. I unfortunately had to go the route of going on eBay, and anybody that's watched my reviews of the Takes Manhattan Ghostface, I think I paid, when it was all said and done, when it was all in, I think I end up ultimately paying around $170 for the thing. This guy is a much easier thing for your budget because he's going still for like the regular retail price. So if you didn't get your hands on the regular Ghostface, the one from Takes Manhattan, the convention exclusive, the next best thing is honestly getting this one from Inferno. You get all the benefits of the other Ghostface at a much more affordable price. And hey, why not? Underneath all that, this one's also for the first time ever sporting a bulletproof vest. Big thank you once again to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample of the relatively new Inferno Ghostface that we had the chance to have a look at in this review. Have you guys had the chance to pick up this figure? And also probably a better question to ask you guys, if you have grabbed this one, do you have it displayed the way that I have him displayed right now without the cloak, or do you have him with the cloak on? I guess it would really be dictated by if you already have other Ghostface, maybe you might just want to do something a little bit different. And that's certainly something that NECA did with this release, this version. Also, if you guys did enjoy this video, throw it a like. Why not? If you guys are interested and want to stick around more for the content that this guy's putting up, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. I can tell you right now, I'm looking at a stack over here. You can't see it. I can see it. The outdated calendar on my wall can also see it, because I think there's actually a camera behind that. Yeah, I think there is. Who's watching me? But I can tell you, though, there's a pile of stuff over here from NECA that we will be looking at in upcoming reviews. So I always would encourage, come back here on a regular basis. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.